heavy list of worries there. Is there anything they're feeling hopeful about?
Oh, absolutely. I think the nature of my role is you're asking young people, you know, what issues they feel are most important, and naturally you're going to be talking about a lot of the gaps and a lot of the problems a lot of the time, but I think it's always important to recognise that there's a lot of hope as well. And I think young people are hopeful in other young people stepping up and creating change. We've seen some incredible grassroots movements springing up all around the world, particularly around climate change last year. I participated in one of the strikes in New York with 2.7 million other young people from around the world in 112 countries. And that's one example of how young people are stepping up and leading and creating change. But I think it's important that those solutions that young people are developing translate into something tangible.
So they have hope that eventually the rest of us won't be here to slay the
You did a ton of consultations in regional and rural areas. Are the concerns there different than the cities?
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the, key things that we found from our listening tour was the fact that a lot of young people in regional and rural areas are feeling isolated, they're feeling left out of the national conversation, they're feeling like the issues that are impacting them aren't being prioritised, and a lot of the time it's around accessibility of health services, it's around infrastructure and transport access, it's around opportunities in education and employment, and a lot of these regional communities are unfortunately shrinking because young people just don't have opportunities, so they have to go to more populated areas.
What are young people saying about their mental health?
Well, I mean, that was the third most raised issue nationwide. And it's an issue that, again, disproportionately affects a lot of young people. What they're saying, I think, could be grouped into two things, and our report found that the first is the availability and accessibility of services. And that's, I think, a particular problem in regional and rural Australia, where I visited places where young people are waiting 9 to 12 months just to get in to see a psychologist. In other places, I mean, you're lucky if you have services in your community. In other places, you have to travel multiple hours to get to the nearest headspace or the nearest clinic. So that accessibility problem is massive, and getting health workers into those communities and keeping them there long term is a big challenge. And I think the second one is stigmas. So stigmas obviously continue to warp and silence conversations about mental health broadly, but for young Australians in particular. So one of the things that we'd love to see is mental health literacy training embedded into the education system and curricula to tackle those stigmas.
That would be a good idea. I was going to ask you about why young people feel so unheard, but we're out of time, so don't talk about that.
Yes, the youth report has been launched online. You can head to our website if you want to see the brilliant work that you've done. Would you please thank Kareem Elan?
We're off to a break.